The black man forbidden from shopping at a supermarket. The camera focuses on polished leather shoes stepping out of a black Cadillac. As the frame widens, we see a tall, dignified black man in an immaculate three-piece suit. This is Elijah Montgomery, 42. His face a perfect mask of composure despite the stares from white pedestrians passing by. In a world that judged a man by the color of his skin before the content of his character, Elijah Montgomery learned early that money couldn't buy equality, but it could buy something else entirely. Elijah straightens his tie, takes a deep breath, and walks toward Bradley's grocery store, an upscale establishment with gleaming windows and a sign that boasts Albany's finest groceries since 1885. The store is pristine, polished floors, neatly stacked shelves, well-dressed white customers browsing leisurely. As soon as Elijah steps inside, the atmosphere changes. Conversations stop. Heads turn. A security guard near the entrance immediately straightens up. Elijah, seemingly oblivious to the attention, walks confidently toward the produce section. He examines an apple, inspecting it with the eye of someone who knows quality. Before he can place it in a basket, a store manager, James Wilson, a balding man in his 50s with a permanent frown, approaches, flanked by the security guard. "Can I help you?" he asks coldly. "Just browsing your selection, sir. You have quite an impressive store," Elijah replies politely. "We don't serve your kind here during regular hours," Wilson states flatly. "I'm afraid I don't understand. This is a public establishment, is it not?" Elijah maintains his composure. "Public for our customers," Wilson's voice rises. "Colored folk can shop after 6 p.m. on Thursdays, and they use the back entrance. Those are the rules." Several customers have stopped to watch the confrontation. Some look uncomfortable, others nod in agreement with Wilson. "I see. And who established these rules?" Elijah asks. "The owner, Mr. Bradley. Now I suggest you leave before there's trouble." Elijah places the apple back with deliberate care, straightens his suit jacket. "Very well. Thank you for your time. Escort him out," Wilson instructs the security guard. "Make sure he doesn't take anything." The guard grabs Elijah's arm roughly. Elijah looks down at the hand on his sleeve, then up at the guard with such quiet dignity that the man releases him. Embarrassed, outside, Elijah walks back to his car, his face still composed, but his eyes burning with a mixture of humiliation and determination. His driver, Thomas, an elderly black man, opens the car door for him. "Same as usual, Mr. Montgomery?" he asks. Elijah pauses for a long moment. "No, Thomas. Not this time." As the car pulls away, Elijah looks back at the store. Some men respond to humiliation with rage, others with resignation. Elijah chose a different path. Savannah, Georgia, 1883. 18 years after the end of slavery, a nation still deeply divided by color welcomed Elijah Montgomery into the world. A newborn baby cries in the arms of his mother, Sarah Montgomery, while his father, Samuel Montgomery, watches with a mixture of pride and concern, the scars of whip marks visible on Samuel's back as he puts on his shirt. Born to Samuel, a former slave, and Sarah, a woman who came into the world during the first year of freedom, Elijah inherited both the scars of the past and dreams for a different future. "They can take everything from you, son. Everything except what's in here," Samuel says, touching his son's head gently. Young Elijah, just 8 years old, walks with his father, stepping off the sidewalk when white people approach. By 12, he's working as a delivery boy for a local grocery store, carrying heavy packages, counting change with remarkable speed. At 15, he reads by candlelight, hiding books under his mattress when his parents check on him. In a world that expected little from him, Elijah showed remarkable promise. By 12, he was working at Miller's Grocery, where the owner, Harold Miller, saw something in the boy that others overlooked: intelligence, determination, and an exceptional head for numbers. Harold Miller, a kind-eyed white man in his 50s, watches as teenage Elijah calculates inventory in his head, faster than Miller can write it down. "You know, boy, you've got a mind for numbers that I haven't seen in white folks twice your age," Miller observes. "Thank you, Mr. Miller," Elijah responds humbly. Miller looks around, then lowers his voice. If you were white, you could run a store like this someday. Elijah thinks for a moment before replying, "With all due respect, Mr. Miller, perhaps I still could." Miller looks surprised, then laughs, not mockingly, but with genuine amusement and something like respect. For 10 years, Harold Miller became more than an employer. He became a mentor, teaching Elijah everything about running a successful business in a world that would rather see him fail. In 1916, a packed courtroom in Savannah becomes the stage for unprecedented events. Mrs. Miller, frail but determined in her 70s, sits at the front while a lawyer reads Harold Miller's will. The crowd reacts with shock as the grocery store is bequeathed to Elijah Montgomery, now 33. When Harold Miller died, he left behind no children, only a widow and a will that scandalized Savannah. He had left his grocery store to Elijah. "Your Honor, this testament cannot possibly be valid." No sound-minded white man would leave valuable property to a Negro, protests the opposing lawyer. Mrs. Miller stands shakily. "If you think my Harold didn't know exactly what he was doing, then you didn't know my husband at all, against all odds." Elijah took ownership of Miller's grocery. It would have been remarkable enough if the story ended there, a black man owning a business in the Jim Crow South. But for Elijah Montgomery, it was just the beginning. Over the next decade, Elijah expanded from 1 store to 10, creating the Montgomery Food Company. He navigated a complex web of racial barriers, using white lawyers and intermediaries when necessary, paying higher interest rates than his white competitors, and enduring the indignity of entering his own banks through back doors. By 1925, Elijah sits at his desk in a tasteful but not ostentatious office, reviewing ledgers. On the wall hangs a portrait of Harold Miller. Walter Jenkins, Elijah's accountant and friend, enters with excitement. "The numbers from the Macon store just came in. We've broken all previous records. That's 10 profitable stores across Georgia," Elijah replies with a slight smile. "I believe it's time, Walter." "Time for what?" "To go north." Elijah boards a train for New York, sitting in the colored section despite his wealth. In 1925, Elijah set his sights on Albany, New York. The North promised, if not equality, at least fewer legal barriers to his ambition. But some lessons can only be learned firsthand. Following the humiliation at Bradley's store, Elijah sits alone in a modest hotel room, staring out the window at the lights of Albany. The room is clean but basic, the best accommodation available to a black man, regardless of his wealth. On the desk before him lies the business card of James Bradley, owner of Bradley's Grocery. Elijah studies it thoughtfully. "They'll sell to me, but they won't sell to me," he mutters to himself, a wry smile playing on his lips. He picks up the telephone. 2 months later, Elijah sits in a wood-paneled law office in downtown Albany. Across from him sit 3 white lawyers and James Bradley himself, a portly man in his 60s. Bradley had never met the mysterious investor who'd made such a generous offer for his store through intermediaries. His face drains of color when Elijah walks in. "What is the meaning of this?" Bradley sputters, looking to his lawyers. "Mr. Bradley, may I introduce Mr. Elijah Montgomery, the purchaser we've been representing," says the lead lawyer uncomfortably. "This is a joke," Bradley says. "I'm not selling my family business to a colored man." "I'm afraid the papers are already signed," the lawyer replies. "The funds have been transferred. Legally, the sale is complete." Bradley's face reddens. "No court in this state will uphold this trickery." Elijah speaks for the first time, his voice calm. "Mr. Bradley, I've purchased your store for $30,000 above market value. You've already deposited the check. I have no intention of changing the name or staff. The only difference is that all customers will be welcome regardless of color." "I'll be ruined," Bradley whispers. "My customers will never shop at a store owned by a Negro." Elijah leans forward. "Perhaps. But I suspect they care more about quality goods at fair prices than the skin color of the owner they never see." As Bradley storms out, Elijah turns to the lawyers. "Gentlemen, shall we complete the formalities? I have other establishments to attend to." The story spreads quickly through Albany. Negro buys Bradley's grocery, reads the small headline in the local paper. White customers boycott the store initially, but curiosity and necessity gradually bring them back. Black customers, however, come in unprecedented numbers, having never been allowed to shop there during regular hours. Elijah hires black cashiers and floor managers, positions previously unimaginable for people of color in retail. Not everyone accepts the changes. One night, the windows of Bradley's are smashed. Threatening letters arrive at Elijah's hotel, but he remains undeterred. Within 6 months, the store's profits exceed previous records. Despite the initial backlash, by 1926, Elijah has expanded into New Jersey and Connecticut, adding 13 more stores to his growing empire. The Montgomery Food Company becomes known for 2 things: quality products and integrated staff. Behind the scenes, Elijah fights countless legal battles against local ordinances prohibiting black ownership or integrated workplaces. He pays fines when necessary, challenges laws when possible, and finds loopholes where available. His expanding wealth provides protection that most black Americans lack, but it doesn't shield him from daily indignities. He still cannot eat in most restaurants, stay in fine hotels, or enter establishments catering to whites. In June 1927, Elijah travels to Charlotte, North Carolina, where the company has recently acquired a small chain of 5 grocery stores. He decides to visit one incognito, wearing simpler clothes than usual, to evaluate the customer experience. As he approaches Montgomery Food Store, No. 28, he's stopped at the entrance by a young white manager with a name tag reading Thomas Wilson. "Hey, you can't come in here," Wilson says sharply. "Colored entrance is in the back." "I'm just here to shop," Elijah replies mildly. "We don't serve coloreds during regular business hours," Wilson explains with exaggerated patience. "You people can come after 6 p.m. when decent folks are done shopping." Elijah studies the young man with interest. "I see. And who established this policy?" "The owner, of course," Wilson says proudly. "Well, I'm here to see Mr. Peterson, your regional manager," Elijah says. Wilson looks suspicious. "How do you know Mr. Peterson?" "Because I hired him," Elijah replies calmly. Wilson laughs. "Sure you did. And I'm John D. Rockefeller. Call him," Elijah suggests. "Tell him Elijah Montgomery is here." The name registers faintly with Wilson, whose smile falters. "The Montgomery from Montgomery Food Company, the owner of this establishment, and 27 others like it." Wilson's face drains of color. Minutes later, a flustered Mr. Peterson bursts through the door. "Mr. Montgomery, sir, I had no idea you were visiting today. Please forgive any misunderstanding." "There's no misunderstanding, Mr. Peterson," Elijah says quietly. "Your manager was simply following what he believes to be company policy." "I'd like to know where he got that impression." Peterson's eyes dart nervously to Wilson, then back to Elijah. "Local custom, sir. We've been operating according to regional practices to avoid friction." "I see. And did I authorize these regional practices?" "Not explicitly, sir, but then, as of this moment, they are expressly forbidden," Elijah interrupts. "Call a meeting of all store managers in the region for tomorrow morning. I want to be very clear about Montgomery Food Company policies going forward." The next morning, 20 store managers gather in a hotel conference room, all white men looking uncomfortable as Elijah addresses them. "Gentlemen, it appears there has been confusion about our company's mission. Let me clarify. Montgomery stores have one entrance, the front door. We serve all customers during all business hours. We hire based on ability, not color. Any manager unwilling to implement these policies may submit his resignation, effective immediately. 5 managers stand and leave without a word. Elijah continues without acknowledging their departure. "For those choosing to stay, know that you will face resistance. You may lose some customers. You may face fines or harassment. The company will support you through these challenges because eventually others will follow our lead, not from moral conviction, but because it's good business to serve all customers with dignity." Following the Charlotte incident, Elijah returns to his headquarters in Savannah, where he faces another dilemma. The company has grown beyond his ability to personally oversee all operations. He needs executives he can trust to maintain his vision. His longtime friend and accountant, Walter Jenkins, is the obvious choice for chief financial officer, but no major American company has ever had a black executive at that level. It's impossible, his lawyers warn. White store managers won't take orders from a Negro, no matter how qualified. Then they'll find employment elsewhere, Elijah replies. In January 1928, Walter Jenkins becomes the first black CFO of a multi-state company in American history. The business press reports it as a curiosity, the black press as a triumph. The growing success of Montgomery Food Company attracts unwanted attention. In March 1928, Elijah receives a visitor at his Savannah office, Bernard Thompson, representative of the Southern Retail Association. Mr. Montgomery, Thompson begins smoothly, your company has shown remarkable growth. Our association represents the largest retailers in the South, and we believe it's time for Montgomery Food Company to join our ranks. Elijah regards him skeptically. Your association has denied my previous 3 applications for membership. Thompson smiles thinly. Circumstances change. Your company now operates in 5 states, with 32 locations. That makes you impossible to ignore. What's the real purpose of your visit, Mr. Thompson? Thompson's smile disappears. Your progressive policies are creating problems for other retailers. Customers are beginning to question why they can't shop alongside colored folk in other establishments, if they can in yours. It's disruptive, I see. And what would your association have me do? Simple modifications, Thompson says. Maintain separate entrances, different shopping hours, the traditional arrangements. And if I decline, membership in our association provides protection, Mr. Montgomery, banking relationships, supply chain connections, political influence. A business like yours has many vulnerabilities. Elijah stands, signaling the end of the meeting. Mr. Thompson, please convey to your association that Montgomery Food Company will continue its current policies. We seem to be doing quite well without your protection. After Thompson leaves, Walter enters the office. That didn't sound friendly. It wasn't meant to be, Elijah sighs. We need to prepare for problems, supply disruptions, credit restrictions, perhaps worse. The cost of principles is high, Walter observes. Yes, Elijah agrees. But the cost of abandoning them is higher. The next year brings both challenges and opportunities. Several suppliers refuse to deliver to Montgomery stores. Banks call in loans unexpectedly. But for every door that closes, others open. Black suppliers eager for large contracts. Jewish-owned banks facing their own discrimination. And most importantly, customers, black and white, who appreciate quality goods sold with dignity. By the time the stock market crashes in October 1929, Montgomery Food Company has diversified its operations enough to weather the initial economic shock. While other retailers collapse during the early Depression years, Montgomery's grows, buying failed competitors at bargain prices. By 1935, the company operates 57 stores across 7 states. Elijah, now 52, has achieved wealth beyond his father's wildest dreams, yet still faces daily reminders of America's racial boundaries. He maintains homes in Savannah and New York, but is often refused service in restaurants just blocks from his own residences. In July 1935, Elijah visits his newest store in Philadelphia with his 15-year-old son Samuel, named after his grandfather. As they exit their car, a white woman drops her groceries nearby. Samuel rushes to help her. "Get your hands off my things, boy." Then she snaps, before noticing Elijah. Her eyes dart to the Montgomery name on the storefront, then back to Elijah's expensive suit. Confusion crosses her face. Elijah places a hand on Samuel's shoulder. "Come along, son. The lady prefers to manage on her own." As they walk away, Samuel asks, "Why did you let her speak to me that way, Father? You own this store. You could have said something." Elijah considers the question carefully. I could have embarrassed her. Perhaps had her removed from the premises. But what would that teach? You, that power justifies humiliation? That's a lesson I never want you to learn. Inside the store, employees snap to attention when they recognize Elijah. The manager gives them a tour, proudly pointing out innovations and strong sales figures. Samuel watches his father closely, the way employees defer to him, the respect in their voices, the eagerness to please. Later, as they drive away, Samuel says, "I want to be like you, Father, to build something that changes things." Elijah looks at his son thoughtfully. "Samuel, I built grocery stores. That's all. If they've changed anything, it's because I refuse to accept that business and human dignity are incompatible. Remember that when your time comes to build, the late 1930s bring new challenges as war looms in Europe. Rationing affects inventory. Men leave for military service, creating staffing shortages. Elijah implements innovations out of necessity that later become industry standards, hiring women for traditionally male roles, offering flexible shifts for working mothers, providing on-site childcare at larger stores. In 1939, he establishes the Montgomery Scholarship Foundation, providing college education for promising young black students, initially the children of employees, later expanded to communities where Montgomery stores operate. During World War II, Elijah watches with interest as the government temporarily sets aside some racial barriers in service of the war effort. Black workers enter factories in unprecedented numbers. Montgomery stores, already accustomed to integrated workforces, adapt more easily than competitors. When the war ends in 1945, Elijah, now 62, begins considering his legacy. The company operates 78 stores across 10 states. Samuel, 25, has completed business school and joined the company as assistant regional director for the Northeast. Despite his father's achievements, Samuel still faces discrimination. Refused service, followed in stores, stopped by police while driving his expensive car. In December 1947, Montgomery Food Company opens its 100th store. The milestone merits a small mention on page 14 of the New York Times. After the ribbon-cutting ceremony, a young reporter approaches Elijah. "Mr. Montgomery, to what do you attribute your success?" The reporter clearly expects a standard business answer: quality, service, value. Elijah considers the question carefully. "Persistence," he finally says, "and the understanding that obstacles exist not to stop us, but to show us how much we want something." By 1950, Elijah has begun transferring operational control to Samuel and a team of executives, both black and white. At 67, his hair now gray, he walks with a slight stoop from decades of stress and hard work. During a board meeting, a discussion about expansion into the Deep South states they've previously avoided, Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana, grows heated. "The political climate there makes our business model impossible," argues one executive. "The risk to property and personnel is too high." Samuel, now executive vice president, disagrees. "Those states have the highest black populations. They need what we offer more than anywhere else." All eyes turn to Elijah, still chairman of the board. "When I opened my first integrated store," he begins slowly, "people said it was impossible. When I hired my first black manager, they said it was impossible. When I appointed Walter as CFO, they said it was impossible. Yet here we are." He looks around the table. "We don't expand to Mississippi because it's easy. We expand because it's necessary." In August 1950, Elijah attends the opening of Montgomery Food Store number 115 in Jackson, Mississippi. A mixed crowd of black and white customers gathers outside, separated by an invisible line no one crosses. Local police monitor the situation warily. As Elijah prepares to cut the ribbon, a rock shatters a window behind him. The crowd gasps. Security personnel move to protect him, but Elijah raises his hand to stop them. He picks up the rock, examines it, then addresses the crowd. "This store sells groceries, not fear. We welcome all customers who share that simple understanding." He cuts the ribbon. Black customers enter immediately. Most white onlookers leave, but a few, after hesitation, follow. A photojournalist captures the moment. an elderly black man holding a door open as a young white woman cautiously enters. The image appears in Life magazine under the caption, "Change comes to Mississippi, one grocery at a time." Later that evening, in his hotel room, Elijah receives a call from Samuel. The Jackson store did 3 times projected sales today, despite the incident. Elijah smiles. "People are hungry for more than food, son." The board was right about one thing, Samuel admits. The political backlash has already started. The mayor is threatening to revoke our business license for public safety reasons. Fight it in court, Elijah instructs. That's what our lawyers are for. This could get expensive. Some things are worth the cost. Over the next 2 years, Montgomery Food Company opens 8 more stores in previously avoided Deep South states. Each faces legal challenges, boycotts, and occasional violence. But each also becomes profitable within months, serving communities hungry for both quality goods and basic dignity. By 1952, Elijah, now 69, has largely retired from daily operations, though he remains chairman emeritus. The company he built now operates 137 stores in 15 states, employs over 4,000 people, and serves as a model for retail integration years before the civil rights movement gains national momentum. In April 1953, Elijah attends the wedding of his granddaughter, Rebecca, in New York. During the reception at a hotel that would have refused him entry 20 years earlier, he feels a sharp pain in his chest. 2 days later, he dies peacefully in his sleep. The funeral in Savannah draws thousands. Employees, customers, business associates, and civil rights leaders. The procession stretches for miles, black and white mourners walking side by side in a city still largely segregated. The New York Times, which had relegated the opening of his 100th store to page 14, now carries his obituary on the front page. Elijah Montgomery dies at 70, turned discrimination into empire. Among the mourners is a surprising figure, Thomas Wilson, the young manager who had tried to expel Elijah from his own store in Charlotte 26 years earlier. Now middle-aged, Wilson places a wreath with a note that reads simply, "You taught me to see beyond color. Thank you." After Wilson leaves, Samuel reads the note and asks an associate, "Who was that man?" "Someone whose life your father changed, like so many others," comes the reply. The Montgomery Food Company continues to grow after its founder's death, eventually becoming one of the largest supermarket chains in America. When the Civil Rights Act passes in 1964, Montgomery stores have already been integrated for nearly 4 decades. Today, few shoppers pushing their carts through the aisles know the story of the man whose name still hangs above the entrance. Few realize that every time they walk through the front door, regardless of their skin color, they are benefiting from one man's quiet revolution. The black man who was barred from shopping in supermarkets changed not just his own destiny, but helped bend the arc of American history toward justice, not with speeches or protests, but with persistence, dignity, and an unshakable belief that business could be both profitable and humane. In a country still struggling with the legacy of its racist past, Elijah Montgomery's story reminds us that sometimes the most effective way to change an unjust system is not to tear it down, but to own it and then open the doors to everyone.